Author John Grisham is best known for legal thrillers like The Firm and The Pelican Brief, books that went on to become hit movies as well. His latest book isn't fiction, but the stories in it are perhaps more chilling and devastating than those in his novels, as Erin Moriarty discovered.
That it just blindsides you like a bolt of lightning.
You're stunned and in shock.
What happened to Army veterans Mark Jones, Dominic Lucci, and Kenny Gardiner on a January night in 1992 is almost impossible to believe.
One day you're preparing to go before the promotion board, next day you're fighting for your freedom.
Neighbors heard several shots ring out.
A chance encounter with a Savannah, Georgia police officer investigating a murder cost them 26 years in prison for a crime they didn't commit.
Why us? Why then? We had nothing in our lives that would even bring anybody to the assumption of that. No logical reason for us to have done any of that.
Their arrest, conviction, and fight for freedom is as dramatic as the plot of any legal thriller, says best-selling author John Grisham, who has written nearly 50 of them.
Everything is there. Drama, suffering, injustice, you name it.
The story of the Savannah Three is one of 10 cases outlined in Grisham's new book, Framed, co-written with Jim McCloskey.
He was exonerated.
Founder of Centurion, one of the country's first nonprofit organizations helping free those wrongfully convicted. So these aren't outliers?
They're not outliers.
To the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
There are hundreds of these cases, maybe thousands.
It's only the second nonfiction work by Grisham. We should note there are questions about how much Grisham relied on the reporting of others. The former attorney sits on Centurion's board. Did you expect to get sucked into this world? Because it's a tough world.
You know what? We can't begin to believe somebody would last for 20 years on death row and walk out and be able to function. And I've met so many of these guys over the years. They have endured something that the rest of us cannot begin to comprehend.
The name, the title also struck me. Framed? Who's doing the framing?
The police and the prosecutors.
Police and prosecutors, yeah.
The police are coercing witnesses into false testimony. Prosecutors are hiding exculpatory evidence from the defendant. It goes on and on. These are the two lawyers I worked with in Columbus.
The walls of the Centurion office in Princeton, New Jersey are lined with some of the faces of those clients. And the numbers, say Grisham and McCloskey, are troubling. Nationwide, 3,600 people have been exonerated since 1989. 68% are people of color.
Oh, racism is a huge factor.
Right. If you're a person of color and indigent, you got an uphill battle because you have no resources to fight this wrongful conviction.
And most of those wrongfully convicted, as the case of Kenny Gardiner, Mark Jones, and Dominic Lucci demonstrates, were simply unlucky. Back on January 31st, 1992, the three soldiers, then in their early 20s, were together at this wedding rehearsal the day before Mark Jones was set to get married.
Everything was finally really connecting and coming together in my life.
After dinner, the three soldiers drove 45 miles to a nightclub in Savannah for an impromptu bachelor party.
We were to try to get into a strip club that wouldn't let us in because his birthday was 3 months away. So we went to a different one, had no idea how to get to it.
They stopped 3 times to ask police officers for directions, unaware that a drive-by shooting had taken place nearby, and they were about to cross paths with the only eyewitness.
We asked the police officer that was walking across the street with a gentleman in a suit where the place was at. And she said, it's right there. We assumed the guy in the suit was a detective. He was the eyewitness who told her that kind of looked like the car.
Shortly after, police took the men in for questioning. They were arrested for murder hours later. Did any of you have a criminal history?
No.
Did any of you know the victim?
No.
Was there a gun found in the car?
There wasn't a gun found anywhere. Still, no gun has been found.
Nothing connected us at all.
So how did it not only just go to arrest, but go to conviction?
Wrong place, wrong time.
And that was all it took.
There was also, says Jim McCloskey, racial unrest in Savannah, And the murder of a black man blamed on 3 white men put the city on edge.
They made a case against them to demonstrate to the black leadership that they care as much about black victims as they do white. And these 3 innocent soldiers fell into their grasp, and away they went.
At trial, James White, the eyewitness, identified 2 of the men as the shooters.
They sit right there behind this gentleman here.
Other witnesses and prosecutors painted them as racists and thrill seekers. The jurors were out for 8 hours and 20 minutes.
We, the jury, find the defendant guilty of malice, murder, and possession of a firearm.
Guilty.
I literally almost passed out because I was so shocked.
They were sentenced to life in prison, plus 5 years.
I mean, I got to serve life. When I die in prison, you guys are going to keep my body for 5 more years before you release it to my family? I don't understand what's going on here.
Dominic Lucci wrote letter after letter to Centurion, which only accepts 1 or 2 new cases a year. But in 2009, McCloskey and his team took the case. He writes about it in the book.
This is just the Savannah 3 case.
It still took years to get justice. Even after James White admitted he lied about the identification at trial, the men remained in prison until December 20th, 2017. The Georgia Supreme Court ruled that the state's failure to produce this key piece of evidence to the defense at the original trial, even if inadvertent, violated the law. Dominic, Lucci, Kenny Gardiner, and Mark Jones were finally free.
It was a moment that gives you chills. You can't believe it's actually happening, and you're so happy for the families and the mothers.
Except for his birth, this is the best day of my life.
To bring their sons home to them.
Thank you.
Kenny Gardiner now lives in Texas and rents a room in a house where Mark Jones lives, along with his mother. They both have jobs delivering pizzas. Dominic Lucci moved to Ohio, where he works as a phone operator at the VA hospital. The 3 men, now in their 50s, are still the best of friends. While the Georgia legislature granted all 3 men some compensation, they can never get back what they lost.
Think about what you've done from the time you were 21 to the time you were 47 and lose all that. Your college, your marriage, your house.
Your children being born.
No work history. 26 years of Social Security not put in.
And they can't quite shake the past.
Do you have nightmares?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Do you have trouble trusting people?
I don't trust anybody. Family. Family is as far as it goes. And these people are included in family.
And these men are actually the fortunate ones, John Grisham says. There are untold others still waiting to be heard.
What we are trying to do is bring attention to these cases and show people that these cases happen all the time. It's not that difficult to convict an innocent person. It's virtually impossible to get one out.